Hello, everyone. I am Jennifer Kavanaugh, and this is Between Worlds for April 4th, 2021. And I wanted to share this little piece of awareness, you could say a program that I've been kind of picking away at the last week or so. And it's this fear of not believing, which is really interesting. So I grew up Catholic, went to a Catholic elementary school. I was actually one of the first female altar servers in the church that I attended. And we used to play this game when I was in school, and it was kind of like, for lack of better terms, Jesus tag. And how it would work is the teacher would identify one person to be Jesus secretly. And it was a game that you would play all day long. And throughout the day, you had to kind of guess who was Jesus. But in the process, you kind of have to be nice to everybody. And it instilled this belief system, right? That anybody you meet could be Jesus. But it was also presented in the form of like, anybody could also be a god. So if we look at how Jesus and God are sometimes intertwined, rightly so or wrongly so, that's not what I'm here to debate. But this concept that you could be sitting right beside Jesus, and if you don't believe and you don't recognize, then you're probably not going to make it into heaven. That was kind of the shadow side of the programming that I experienced. Now, the positive side is that you learn to be kind to everybody, but the undertone is that you're kind of kind of doing that out of fear, right? That, oh no, if I make a mistake, I'm not going to get into those gates into the other side, heaven, whatever terms you want to use. And I've been I've been unaware of this most of my life, this fear that if I don't believe, I'm not going to get in. Now, the fear was there, but it just wasn't in my consciousness to be able to articulate it until the past couple of days. And as I look at all of the different experiences I've had in my own spiritual journey, but also just navigating the world right now in this ascension process that we're in, there's definitely been times where I've fallen into that trap of, I have some questions here. I'm a questioning person by nature. Even as a child, I questioned the stories I was told about the Bible. I questioned, why would a God make me kneel and stand and do all of these, rituals? Why do I have to go to a church to pray if God is present everywhere? Why can't I speak to him anywhere? And I always had those questions as a child, and as an avid reader as a child as well, I had access to a lot of contradictory information. So questioning is kind of my first nature in a lot of things. And right alongside that is this fear of, yeah, you can question, but if you don't believe, you may be in trouble down the road. And so as I explored, yoga and kundalini and all these other theories that are out there right now, a lot of them are based on this energy of, trust the plan, trust the God, don't ask too many questions, just go along with it. If you don't believe now, then you're not going to be part of it when all the rewards are suddenly here, when everybody ascends. If you don't believe now in the middle of the darkness, then you're not going to be qualified to ascend. You're not going to be qualified to enter into heaven. um, and and now that this is in my conscious awareness, I am picking up on all of these little subtle energies, that I just wasn't seeing before, with that language, right? Because I don't believe that. I don't believe that you have to necessarily be a diehard believer in order to demonstrate love and kindness and compassion and all of the skill sets and energetic frequencies that would be necessary to ascend, to enter heaven, to enter the new earth. Whatever language you're using, I don't think it's necessary that you have to believe without any doubt, that you have to believe without asking any questions. And maybe I'm wrong on that, right? But the part of me that doesn't want to express that is because of this subtle message that if you question, you're just not believing enough and you're not going to get in. And I wonder how much of that plays into our our ability to be fooled, for lack of better term, our ability to hand over our power when otherwise maybe we wouldn't. You know, our ability to perhaps go along with things, even though somewhere deep down in our gut, it doesn't quite resonate with us. And it's quite easy to get swept away in things. It's quite easy to get swept away in a group or an idea or a belief system because we want to believe, um, because there's aspects of truth in it that we can feel. But I think it's also important for us to discern how much of that ability to get swept away is also because we're afraid if we don't believe, we're afraid if we don't follow exactly what that particular belief system model is, that at some point, you know, the doors will be closed and we'll be on the outside. So here's my belief. I believe that, you know, the God creator, whatever term you want to use, universal oneness, whatever, that it's less important about our belief systems in the three-dimensional space, and perhaps more of it is about believing in ourselves and trusting what our own heart, what our own gut is telling us to do. And I think there's a reason that all of our guts have been attacked over the last several decades, because that's where our real strength comes from. You know, that's where we know, yes, this is a yes or this is a no for me. And maybe it's different. Maybe it's the complete opposite for my neighbor or my friend, and that's okay. But we want to be very careful right now with all of this going on to make sure that all of our choices are from a place of power, from a place of courage, and from a place of, you know, conviction and belief in what we know to be true in our own bodies and in our own soul's resonance. And any place that fear is sneaking in, whether it's in the back door or the front door, doesn't matter, you know, whether it's conscious or unconscious, doesn't matter. But we need to be on guard for those little places of fear, because it's the fear that allows us to be controlled, and it's the fear that takes us off course. So, you know, take a look around. And I've noticed, you know, with some of the different people and groups that I follow, that there has been an increase over the last, you know, few months since February, I would say, January, February, of little subtleties dropped here and there of if you're not on board now, if you're questioning things now, then, you know, we don't want you to be part of the group, or you're not going to be part of the new earth, or good riddance. I don't necessarily know that that's the way into the new earth either. You know, if we're trying to build unity and compassion, um, that compassion has to include people's free will, and it has to include the space and the time for people to sort out what they feel, what they believe on their own terms. You know, even if we feel that that's maybe potentially a danger to us in this 3D sense, we still have to allow them the space to do that and find the compassion to keep that time where we're holding that space for ourselves and for others, to keep it in a good place, to keep it in a positive energy, or at least a neutral energy, we'll say, um, and explore these concepts of what is good and what is bad. You know, I don't necessarily think that just because somebody believes something different from us that it is bad. It's just different, you know. And I love some of these concepts that are coming up, especially from the Native American indigenous community, that I have seen rising, of everybody has a part to play, and we may view their part as positive or negative, but nonetheless it is a part that is being played, that is necessary at this time. And, we may have our emotions about the part they're playing, but who are we to judge? And yes, it's inherent in our nature, our human nature, to judge. We're going to do that no matter what. So we don't need to add a layer of guilt on top of that if we're doing that. But ultimately, we are responsible for ourselves. And when we take that responsibility for ourselves and our own development so intensely, so intimately, by being responsible for ourselves, we contribute to the whole. Right. And sometimes I think we're always looking at the external. What is everybody else doing? And how do I help everybody else? You help everybody else by helping yourself. Because if you're in a good place, you're not going to need help. If you're in a good place, you're not going to be lashing out at everybody. If you're in a good place, you're not going to be fooled by these subtle little programs of fear. If you're in a good place, all of these little programs and belief systems that are not in your highest interest, that have been placed there, at some point during your life, not your fault, not your parents' fault, just happens to be there, they are going to deactivate. Okay. And by you being in that sovereignty, that energy is going to spread to everyone you come in contact with, whether you talk about the ongoings of right now or not. I mean, you could be talking about pea soup, and that energy will spread, and they will feel that sovereignty, and it will light a seed in them to decide for themselves of their own free will if they want to go through that process also. And if you are also identifying this fear of not believing, and you're able to release it, it's going to plant that seed for others to do the same, and to realize that it's okay for you to make decisions for yourself, even if the other people around you don't understand. Even if the other people around you who seem to have the same belief systems as you do not understand. That is all okay. Okay. So I thought this was a really interesting message that has really bubbled up as we come into Easter Sunday. And recalling some of my memories of the Catholic Church, and being educated within the Catholic school system, and this really subtle but deep and an old belief: if you don't believe, you don't get in. I'm calling this one out. I'm calling this one out because I just can't see a God that would be that harsh on us. We will find our way, and we will find it in our own time and in our own terms, and we can still do that with love and compassion deeply held in our actions and in our heart. So love to everybody this morning. I hope you have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon.